Started. Hello, hello, hello. Come on in. All right, we're going to start letting people in. Give it a few moments. Oop, there we go. Very sensitive mouse over here. We're going to move that back. Hey, everybody, come on in, come on in. Can you see my chat or my Zoom window if I'm looking at it here?
No,
Perfect. How about now?
doesn't. Yeah, we just see the presentation.
Hmm.
Amazing. All right. Come on,
Major.
everybody. We're giving it just a few more seconds. In the meantime, I'd love for you to put in chat where you're from. Make sure that your chat is set to everyone. I think I have it set to everyone. Where are you calling in from? State, city, around the world? Love to hear that and see where everybody is tuning in from. Yeah, Cincinnati, Cincinnati, baby. Chili on spaghetti. I've yet to have
Yeah,
that,
that
Chris.
sounds good.
All right,
I'm in Texas, so that's a little rough.
all
I've
right.
had
I
it. It's just
think I saw Lisbon,
All
New
right, New
Hampshire.
Hampshire. Yay. Me
I'll be
too.
see.
up in New Hampshire in 2 weeks.
Awesome.
New England Dragway. All right, everybody. Mexico City, South Africa. Awesome, awesome. Maine, love Maine, especially this time of year. New York, where I am from. Alberta. Let's roll, everybody. All right, Philippines, Kansas City. I'm Lakeland, Florida. It is hot over here. Go Chiefs. We got a lot of sports fans here, huh?
Good stuff.
Got a lot of sports fans. Victoria, right? Where are you from?
Yeah,
Go.
so I'm in New Hampshire, originally from California, also from Oregon, but currently New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, right?
And I see a few folks in Austin because I am here too. I've been here for 21 years. I'm one of the rare ones that are have been here way too long, but also not long enough, I would say. But originally from Dallas, though.
There we go. Uh, Pre-Exodus from
Pretty
California.
yeah, right, right.
Got it,
I've
got
seen
it.
it all. I've seen this city grow with all variety of people, and seeing how the city has been overrun by tech more and more every single day.
As a visitor, I like it. And then Ryan, I don't think I can remove the Chiefs fan. Go Bills, though, right? All right, we're going to get this thing started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today's webinar, it's a good one. It's Outbound isn't broken. Your system is. Outbound still works, but only works when your team has the right data, the right process, and the right tools to turn activity into pipeline. And that's why I'm joined today with my friends here at Concert. If you don't know, Concert helps sales teams call with more speed, structure, better coaching, better call ID management, more visibility into what's actually happening across your team. From Concert, we have Wright, who is from Austin, Texas. Wright has over a decade of experience in SaaS, specializing in building and scaling high performing SDR and BDR teams and full cycle sales teams. He's been at Concert for 4 years and now oversees the entire sales organization, driving net revenue growth. Very SaaS role, net revenue growth.
There you go.
Here we go. And then Victoria, of course, last but not certainly least, has over 30 years of experience in B2B sales and business development within the tech space. Over the past 7 years, she's been at Concert, where she's been focused on leading customer success and driving partner growth initiatives. Welcome both. For those that don't know, I'm Jonathan Pogat. I'm VP of Marketing here at Seamless, and I'm going to be facilitating this conversation, which is a good one because it's very polarizing these days, isn't it?
It can
100%.
be. It can be for sure.
There we go. For everybody else, we're going to get to some Q&A throughout the webinar. And at the end of the webinar, there are two tabs in your Zoom. There's one chat where you can chat with anybody, obviously, provide feedback, commentary. Would love to hear how things are working for you as well. And then there's Q&A. If you want Q&A answered from anybody in this group, drop it in the Q&A. We won't lose it. We'll either answer it within the Q&A or we'll answer it live. So appreciate you both. We're going to get to the first question here. And that is, cool thing about Concert, We use Concert, by the way, in full transparency. We do millions of dials a year, I don't know about a month, but you're able to see millions of dials per month. What does the data tell you about what's actually moving connect rate in 2026 and what doesn't?
Yeah, so I think that's a really great question because, whether you're someone that uses Concert or similar platform, or you're not using kind of that sales performance dialer platform, one of the first questions we usually get is, what kind of dial to connect rate are we going to get? What's the norm? What is everyone else getting? And we first have to tell people that it really does depend on the industry you're calling, persona that you're calling, and are you calling mobile phone numbers? And what are you doing to build your list? So the first thing that we kind of dive into is what's your data sources. So we have a lot of clients that use Seamless. But what we also see is a lot of clients usually have multiple data sources,
Mhm.
because they are trying to not just build a list, they are, building new lists every month, right? And they're enriching those lists. And what we are looking for, what really drives really good connect rate, is mobile phone numbers is really important today. When you were talking about, what are people thinking about outbound and cold calling? There's still people out there that are sometimes hesitant about calling people on their mobile phone. But what we
Oh,
see today is that mobile phones is where you're going to get the best dial to connect rate. The next thing is people are worried that when you call the mobile phone, are people going to say, "Can you take me off your list?" And I just want to tell everyone out there, one of the big jobs that the CS team here at Concert is doing constantly is data diving into our clients' data to help them achieve really good dial to connect rates. But the other thing that I see is the prospects who are asking, "Hey, take me off your phone list," is like 1 to 2%. It's really low. It's really low. So,
yeah.
mobile phone numbers are really important. What can be a challenge is that, we have some clients that come to us that haven't invested in the data providers yet, and they're creating lists from their own CRM. So if anyone's out there that are doing this, the challenge with, creating lists from your own CRM is we see that data can get old sometimes quickly, right? People do move jobs, phone numbers get outdated and so on. So if you want to have really good data, dial to connect rates, you want to make sure that you're investing in those data providers. The second thing is the caller ID management. So a lot of people are asking about, caller IDs getting flagged as spam. And I'm going to dive into this a little bit because, one of the things that I've been doing for years is paying attention to the phone carriers and their algorithms to see, like, why are they flagging caller IDs as spam? It's okay that your caller IDs get flagged as spam, but what you want to have is a really good system on, what do you do when that happens, because it will affect your connect rate. So, for example, here at Concert, we have a whole system in place to handle flag caller IDs. But one of the things to know first is, a lot of people think it's about volume. It's just about volume, right? But it's not just about volume. There's a lot of other things that could trigger it. It could be, short duration calls. It could be,
Hmm.
right, short duration calls. It could be, how the algorithm is looking at the system that you're using. In fact, just this week, I was talking to someone that just, uses their click dialer in their HubSpot to do outbound cold calling, and all of their caller IDs are flagged,
Yep.
right? So managing caller IDs is really important. So for example, in our world, we are starting off with having a pool of caller IDs per client, that we are looking at those caller IDs every day to see if any caller IDs are getting flagged. We immediately, through the technology, quarantine that number from being used by the sales rep to make the call. And then we have a team that's remediating those caller IDs. Just means that we're going to the phone carrier to get it off the flag status. And the reason we do this, going back to those algorithms from the phone carrier, they're looking to see if you're releasing, getting rid of that caller ID and getting a new one. So we want to make sure that our clients retain the caller IDs that they're using so they get really good connect rates. So it's always about going back to your connect rates to go, hey, am I getting a really good connect rate? And having a system in place to make sure that we're protecting your connect rate when this is happening, when you're making outbound calls. The other thing is, going back to building your list and refreshing. When we look at our teams, our clients and their sales teams, why is it that half your team is getting a really good connect rate and the other half is not? Right? It's the same company, you're calling the same industry, the same personas, and so on, or possibly could be. Well, usually what we're seeing is that maybe you have some sales reps that have decided I'm not going to call the mobile phone. I'm going to call and talk to gatekeepers and navigate phone trees and try to get to the prospect. That could be hurting your connect rate, your conversation with the prospect. The other thing is we see lists that are not being refreshed, right? And I'm sure when you talk to Seamless, they'll talk about how you can do that, right? You have a list, and are you looking for more mobile phone numbers, right? Are you updating that list? And how good is your list? Do you have a lot of bad data in your list? So that could be a challenge. So that is another layer of people kind of managing their list. And the other thing, is when is the best time to call? I talked to Wright about this. I read all this research out there of and salespeople posted on LinkedIn like, well, let me tell you, at 11:45 and 12:45, that's the window. That's the perfect time. And you kind of sit there and go, okay, everybody. Now within concert technology, we actually have the tech that it will start telling you when are you getting the best dial to connect rates. But the reality is that you don't want to just say, hey, this is a perfect time every day. I'm going to stick with it. You really want to, look at different times because there are salespeople out there that maybe they're cold calling like SDR, BDR teams. They might be cold calling 2 to 4 hours a day. So it doesn't matter what time, they're just cold calling a lot. But we have a lot of salespeople who, they're cold calling maybe 3 to 5 hours a week. They're not big, huge volume. They're, using Concert because when they do make those outbound calls, they want to get as many conversations as possible, and they want to book their meetings. But again, you want to look at morning, noon, evening, late afternoon, but you probably don't want to call people outside business hours. I just want to throw that out there. But really try to figure out what is your best dial to connect rate, and then look at your list performance, realizing that as you're calling prospects, there are people that I call the phone picker uppers, the people that answer the phone, but there are also people that will pick up the phone, but it's timing. People are busy. That's what I
Yeah.
keep on hearing from everyone, right? We are busy. And so it might take that 10th, 10 times, 20 times to attempt to call a prospect, and you're finally going to get that connect. So, but as you keep on calling that list, your dial to connect rate might go down a bit. So really, I guess to say that looking at your metrics, looking at your list performance, and taking into account that some data is going to be some of the bad data, but also what time. And at the end of the day, what we talk to our clients about, because our clients do get good connect rates, is the connect to conversation. Because at the end of the day, everyone talks about, connecting. What they really mean is how much am I talking to that prospect? And so what we're looking for is that, connect to conversation of when someone answers the phone, are you having a large percentage of calls that are very short duration, or are you getting past your intro and your pitch and you're getting into a conversation? That's the real metric that we really focus on to look at your sales team and to provide best practices, right? We listen to thousands of call recordings here in the CS team, and we have found there's certain things that are working when you get connected, some things that are not, and we provide that kind of feedback.
I'm going to throw you a curveball. Also, great way to set the foundation here. Um, this one's a good one because it's relatively recent and it's two-pronged. If you were going to get to this, just let me know.
Sure.
This is for either Victoria or Wright. How do you
Sure.
address the iPhone screening and then followed with the same is true for Android? It's carriers, phones, they're coming out with all these ways. I use the iPhone screening. I'm sorry. Um,
It's like you're our worst prospect. Why would you
whoops.
do that?
What do you do about it?
Well,
Is there a way to circumvent that? Are you
yeah.
seeing
Yeah.
strategies? What's working?
Well, I'll speak on this just briefly, and I know Victoria, you're heavily involved with at least like what we've been doing here at Concert, but mainly because I want to answer Jim. He was the first one to answer it. He's one of my clients, so I should answer him directly. Jim, I'll talk to you later. One of the things, yeah, we've been noticing it more and more, especially with calling mobile phone numbers for sure, and yeah, mainly just with the mobile. And even just with our own internal dialing here at Concert, we finally started to put together our screeners. Basically, there's like a two-prong approach to it, to where it can now we're testing it out as we speak, where it can disposition the calls that we're encountering as phone screeners, to where you can call them back directly, and or it can actually connect it once it identifies it is a screener, and then you can actually start to have the or go through the process of stating your name, why you're calling, and going from there. I think there are ways to do that because if you know anything about us here at Concert, we have of course, our parallel dialer and our flow dialer, which is like the one-to-one dialing for more like power dialing. I would probably go through a list of identifying what phone numbers are utilizing the screeners than anything else, and then going back, much like if you identify not all data is perfect. If you identify like a mobile phone field as more of a phone tree phone number, then go through our flow dialer and methodically go one by one and actually go through them and call through every single phone call. But Victoria, if you want to add to that, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously the tech will help you, everything what Wright is talking about, but you guys, I've been talking to a lot of people, doing a lot of game feedback on how to handle screeners. So Jonathan, what you're talking about is, what is a screener? Just so for anyone on the call that doesn't know what a screener is, the user on their mobile phone can enable a setting that says, I want to see who's trying to connect with me before I answer the phone. So if a salesperson gets connected to a screener, they are going to say to what Wright was talking about. They might say, "Hey, this is Victoria from Concert. Love to talk to you about our sales dialer technology," something like that. And they're going to see it on their phone, and they can connect with you or they can reject you. See, cold calling, now they have another level of rejection. What's the best practices, you guys? I've heard a lot. What I have heard, one is that some people might just go, "Hey, it's Bob."
Yeah.
Right.
Right? And guess what? I've been hearing a lot of feedback of that's not working. That's not working. I do hear a lot of saying you have to say who you are, what your company is, and maybe a little snippet of why you're calling. That seems to be working a little bit better. Some people have been using other tactics. They start to say something, then they stop midway, and now someone's like, wait, what's happening? And they'll connect. So here's my feedback is having technology, through the dialer platform like Concert is where we're identifying it's a screener where you can have a strategy. But I also recommend trying a few things out, right? The people that are putting the screeners on it's just another filter, another level. So, try to figure out what best works, and then if it's not working, identify that and try something new. It's really good.
And Jim, if you're still there, give me a call or send me an email. We'll talk about it.
Cool. Real
Yeah.
quick, I've had this going on for ever since it came out in beta. I'm just looking at my phone now. This year at 1,531 missed calls. I usually delete it every few months or so, but I can see all the transcripts from all of my screens. And the biggest piece of advice is that what I'll give is be succinct, excuse me, and provide some degree of value. The transcription will pick up everything. So, for example, hi, my name is John. Probably not going to pick that one up, right?
Right.
This is Henry. This is Sam. Hello, this is John. Almost all of them are saying hello, this is John. That's what I see.
Yeah,
And I don't know who that is, right? So find a way to treat it like a headline, right? Why should I
Yeah.
I
pick
love
up this
that.
call? Why should I open the email? Why should I, open my piece of mail? Like you have to give me a little bit of something there.
Definitely.
All right. Let's get back to it. Good questions, by the way. Continue to put your questions in the Q&A so we don't miss them. Let's go. If a rep dials a number and the contact has moved jobs, that does happen. What's the
Mm.
actual cost? Not just the waste of dial, but downstream. So this is little data
Yeah.
quality. What do you have to say about that?
Well, we encounter this quite a bit on our end with our ICP that we call into. We're calling salespeople, and so we tend to have the highest turnover rate in the industry, especially when it comes to tech for sure, compared to like the service industry more than anything else. But the it what's the situation? We reach out to somebody, they either no longer work there or it's an incorrect phone number, and like the first thought process is, okay, well, what do I do now? I have to kind of either start from scratch. Hopefully, you've been coached to see if, like, okay, if Jonathan doesn't work at ABC company anymore, then he works for XYZ. Well, utilize that. There's still some meat on the bone. I hope everyone is doing that to try to get some kind of either referral or start from scratch over at XYZ. But that does interrupt everything still because you're going to have to go back to ABC and then try to figure out, okay, who do I speak to now? I think that the the costs of all of this it ends up becoming more of your getting less conversations for sure in the long run with the people that you do want to speak to. But what this really starts to mean is that you just need to start building out more of a list. Kind of going back to even the most previous slide with, what's the best, data source or how many data sources. And that's how I've always explained it is that when people ask me personally, like, what's the best one that's out there, Seamless or Zoom Info or whatever it's like, well, it just you have to have multiple really in the end to really gather as much as you can and to execute on it. And you just ultimately, if you know that certain percentage of your data and every company and every rep is going to be built differently, you're going to have to kind of think about it like the same way that you build out pipeline for yourself, which is also another huge cost of this is that you want to have what 3 to 4x of what you're trying to close every single month. So you're giving yourself the best chances, the best odds in actually hitting quota. So you have to look at your database and your marketplace that you're going after the same way. You have to build out like 3 to 4x of it and then try to execute and expect that these things are going to happen at some point, that people are, not going to be there anymore. You're going to have less conversations. I know it could be difficult for sure, but you got to think about the things that you could still control. And so if you're building that out more and more, then it's ultimately going to lead you to more positive outcomes in the long run. And I think that Victoria and I were doing some research. I think Victoria was actually finding this out more than I was. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That from the U.S. labor and workforce data, C-suite and manager and mid-level leadership. I mean, they approximately move about like 6 to 12% sometimes, like move jobs every year. So again, if we know that these are some like expectations, don't go into it thinking that, whatever list is presented to you is going to be, God's gift to man or anything. It's like, well, okay, if I know that at least one out of these 12 people are not going to be there, then just go into those expectations, go into that dialing session with that expectation. Um, but I think that it's knowing what to do with the prospect if you do get those connections and if it's just incorrect data, what do you do from there? And I think any good salesperson can still utilize something out of it, either get a referral, find a better person, better connection in the long run, and then go from there. But yeah, sometimes you just have to go back to ABC and try to start it from the ground up again. But I think it's this is more about like setting expectations than anything else.
Yeah, I just want to add really quickly, one things that we want when we're talking to our clients is we want them to get the most ROI out of concert. And so this slide, what that reminded me of is one of the first questions we ask people is like, what's your goal? Yeah, right. Your sales team, how many meetings do you want them to book every week? Right. And we kind of reverse engineer it with them. So when I saw this question, it's so connected to understanding that if you are trying, like your sales team, you're trying to have them book 3 meetings a week, for example, with their outbound. Well, it takes a certain number of conversations, and it takes a certain amount of how big is your list have to be, and how are you going to get to goal? And what we find over and over again is that people sometimes underestimate the certain outcomes like this one. How many people are going to be in your list that are no longer at that company? How many phone numbers are going to be incorrect, and so on and so on. So what we usually find is there's a lot of teams that end up building bigger lists of data to call, spending a little bit more time every day cold calling just to get to their goal. And so that's the biggest takeaway, and the cost, I think, downstream, Jonathan, is that, once you understand your data, you understand it's all about hitting that goal and understanding that, this does happen. And I love that what Wright just said is when I used to cold call a lot, I'd hit people all the time that were moving jobs, and I'd always ask them like, hey, where'd you land? Are you doing the same thing that you're doing at the previous company? By the way,
Right.
I know you just left that company, but you wouldn't happen to know who I might be able to connect with at at the other company. It's not always a big breakup, right? It's like they might direct you to the right person at the previous company. They might be a good fit now that they're at this new company. So everything Wright just said, take advantage of that conversation that you're having with someone to see if they fit your ICP, and you can still have an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, Ryan in chat mentioned that Ryan Spring can also be a benefit if they're somewhere else and you still make the connection. It's awesome. Often less competed for of a lead. So,
Right.
especially
That's
if you have a
exactly.
mobile number, right? They're at a new job, you just got a new lead.
Well, that's the thing is that, even definitely after the height of COVID for sure, and during the pandemic, is that the one thing that doesn't really change are the mobile numbers. So yeah, they might be at XYZ or somewhere else, but they're still somewhere else. It's still the same person. So like take advantage of the data that you got.
Depending on, unless they retire, this has happened to me before.
Sure, sure.
Chances are
There's
they're in a
Yeah.
plenty
certain vertical.
of negative outcomes that can come from from that as well.
Well,
That's
they have
that's
more
actually
time to chat with you about who took their place at the company.
Right.
There you go.
that does happen on LinkedIn with outreach and email with outreach, especially for a more traditional organization. Um, I'll get a message back very rarely, like once a year. It'll say my last day was last week. Funny you reached out. I just retired. It's like, wow, what a cool thing to hear, right?
Hmm.
100%.
Cool, cool. All right. You definitely don't want to dial a list of retirees though. So don't get that mistaken, everybody. All right. So with all that said, where do you think the industry got more cadence steps, more pipeline wrong? Ooh, that's a big
Yeah.
one, right? Bigger list, bigger cadence, multi-channel, complexity.
Yeah.
Thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
Well, I think this one again, you guys, was such a great question because I've been talking to people about their sequences, their cadences for years. Anyone who isn't quite sure what a cadence is, there's technology. Concert has cadence software. There's other companies like SalesLoft and Outreach. We integrate with multiple. But what is the cadence? The cadence is just your strategy
Hmm.
on reaching out to your prospect. Where I think they got it wrong is I have joined webinars. Also, I've read articles. I've seen people that say this is the perfect sequence. It's anywhere from 18 to 22 steps, right? There's emails, call steps, LinkedIn steps. Where I think they got it wrong is they leaned in too much to automation.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is creating a whole bunch of email that goes out where none of them are personalized by the sales rep who is taking an email and saying, "Hey, I'm gonna take this email. I'm going to make it more relevant to the prospect that I'm emailing, right? Or I'm going to do a LinkedIn instead of just saying, hey, just try to connect with that prospect instead of saying, hey, don't just try to connect. I don't know if this has happened to everyone who's on this call is I get prospected a lot and I get a lot of these LinkedIn activities where it says, hey, I came across you. I'd love to be in your network. As soon as I connect, yes, I know. As soon as I connect, now they're prospecting where it's like, hey, I've been a salesperson for a long time and I lean into my profession. If I'm connecting with someone, it's just like the screener feedback you gave, Jonathan. If I'm connecting with someone on LinkedIn, I lean into, hey, Bob, um, I just came across your information. I think that we have a great service technology that could solve a problem that you might have. And I'd love to have a conversation about it, and so on. So I lean into it. Now, that's where people responded to me, if I was relevant, right, to them. So where did Cadence have it wrong is that the strategy of it, they weren't taking into account, they were trying to save the salesperson time, which I love automation, by the way. Let the emails go out, make sure the messaging is good, but there are still some sales activities. Lean in with your sales rep to go, you know what, whether it's a cold call, a LinkedIn, or an email, there are still times that you want to be relevant and you want to personalize it. I'll even add that when I talk to clients and I have them show me their sequences, before they come to concert, a lot of times they only have about maybe 3 to 5 call touches. That's what they're called, call touches within that 22 step, right, sequence. And, I tell them, hey, you need to move that to minimum like 10, 12 or more call activities. And the first reaction is, really? And I said, as much as you think that your prospect's going to pick up the phone in that first few steps, the reality is, again, can I go back to people are busy? People are busy. So over about 4 to 6 week time, when you have that sequence going, you want to have a number of call attempts. Probably another reason why they're coming to concert, but you want to be able to reach out and really connect with people. Wright and I have talked multiple times about this, is that, over time, as the person goes through that sequence, you are, if they haven't replied back to your email, maybe they won't, but I'm telling everyone, emails, people are deleting emails faster than you can think. You still want the emails to go out, but I know I'm from concert, but the conversation to me, even before I came to concert, 80% of me hitting quota was my conversation, my cold call to a prospect. So you
Yeah.
still want to do the cold call, but there are a lot of people that give up too early. So you do want to try to get a hold of that person. And so having a sequence that's like 22 steps, I'm good for it, right? But make sure that you are doing, I usually say for emails, have one personalized email. I usually recommend the second one because maybe the first one might bounce or you might get a response that that person's no longer at the company. So before you do that personalization to make something relevant, do it on the second email and then let the rest of them be automation. And then on the LinkedIn, really be thoughtful and be relevant, that when you are doing a LinkedIn activity that you have a good strategy. So, right,
Yeah. I
anything to add to that?
no, no, for sure. I mean, a lot of my team members, I think they're watching right now. A lot of them do still definitely get meetings on LinkedIn when they are like doing personalized messages to them. That's a great way. But I think it's all about like the types of steps that you're putting into these cadences, and yeah, to Victoria's point of like how many steps that you're putting in there. And it's funny, like, oh, there's only a few phone calls or phone call steps in a sequence from some of our customers. Sometimes it's like, oh, you only have 4 steps in total, and they're only emails. I'm like, look, if we're hedging bets on people replying to emails, like that's a hell of a bet.
Yeah.
And like I mean, if none of us here watching this webinar are actively replying to every single email that you're getting, like basically sold to, then what do you think is going to happen with your own emails most of the time? And then definitely, like I think that's like there are a few things that Victoria said that I think you could do right now that you could be proactive about. Like the second email that you put into a cadence, having that more of a personalized one, because like to her point, that first one, you have to expect like even from the slide from before, some of that data is going to be bad, right? So then you're going to get a bounced email. That's really helpful. So you don't just spin your wheels. You don't want to just constantly either like put them into a phone heavy cadence and then not ultimately get anywhere because they don't work at ABC company anymore, or whatever the situation is. And then, but have more heavily leaning on the phone call steps, because that's just going to be the most proactive and direct way to actually speak with someone. And like having the emails and then again hoping and praying that someone's going to also reply back to a LinkedIn conversation because we all get hit up on LinkedIn as well. It's you're really putting yourself at a disadvantage.
Yeah,
And I think that yeah.
I'm going to add one last thing before is there's a big discussion I also have with clients about leaving voicemails. Um,
Mm,
so I'm going to take on my personal thing. I get emailed a lot, but I don't have people call me, right? I don't have them do LinkedIn. So I think, right, you were saying sometimes people just focus on one channel,
yeah,
email, because it's
right.
easy and automated. But with voicemails, I think you should also leave at least one personalized voicemail, like, "Hey, Jonathan, it's
Yeah.
Victoria from right?" But
Mhm.
we also have pre-recorded voicemails as like part of our concert system. Sometimes you don't need to be personalized every time, just like the email. Sometimes you can drop a pre-recorded voicemail. What I say to my team is, again, my years of business development and cold calling and all this other stuff is I wanted the prospect to know that I'm trying to get a hold of them, right? So even with calls, just to hang up or like Jonathan, you might tell us on your screener technology. When we're listening to all these call recordings from clients, they're hitting screeners and they say nothing and they just hang up. And I'm thinking, again, you want the prospect to know that you're trying to connect with them, and so this is something where you want to take advantage of all the tools, not just the
Mhm.
sequence steps. Anyway,
Yeah, they're touch points, right? And each touch point matters.
100%.
All
It's an
right.
opportunity, as they say.
An opportunity. Yes, that's a big
Yeah,
marketing term. These aren't problems or challenges, they're opportunities.
Yeah.
exactly.
All right. Why don't you walk us through what speed to lead actually looks like? What's the window? What closes it? What kills it? I've heard so many different definitions in my time of speed to lead. Some organizations have an SLA of 3 days, some of it's 3 minutes.
Mm.
You saying what should be the standard?
An SLA in 3 days? Whoa.
Enterprise. Some
Enterprise, sure,
people
sure.
they feel like they're being too pushy. Like some organizations feel that way. Some can't get in front of the lead fast enough. It's an
Yeah,
interesting topic.
that's wow. I didn't even think about the. I mean, for even for enterprise, I'd still say it as soon as possible. Like,
I agree.
I mean, they're interested in you. Like they're in some type of buying cycle. Like it could be at the very, very beginning, it could be 1% of interest, but there is still interest there. So you got to start somewhere. Because the thing is, if you don't get to it, even if it's at a 1% buying, intent or stage or whatever, well, the sales cycle is still going to be long, but you're just prolonging it, especially if it's 3 days. God, there
Yeah.
that opens my. I was like, wow, 3 days. That's crazy. Uh,
The recent
I,
one too.
really, I would suggest is like you want to give them a call as soon as possible within like minutes because they're either one of two things. They're either at their computer right then and there looking at the website. Um, Hopefully that they're still there, or they're looking on their phone. What a better way to get them on the phone when they're looking at your information on the phone. And so, what I think that most of the time that people are going to also appreciate that because you care that they care. So getting in front of them as soon as you can is always, at least from my perspective and just from my history of working with inbound and outbound sales teams, that's just always going to be the best approach. But I mean, it's definitely give them a phone call as soon as you can, and then it's going to be an email and or LinkedIn. I mean, again, they're expressing interest in you in some capacity. So they shouldn't be shocked as if like they're like, oh, I can't believe you would actually try to talk to me about the thing that I was looking at you about. Like that's, I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. But there's a lot of things that you could do from here. Is that act upon it. Like we even here at Concert, we have new hot transfer functions now, to where you can transfer immediately to an AE. I mean, again, they're in a buying cycle. They're going to have some kind of a level of interest that we want to get in front of as soon as you can. And one of the things, like towards the bottom right here, competing with other vendors, you should always. I don't care if they don't even tell you about it, but like you should always go into any, especially when it's like an inbound, you should go into that that opportunity with the idea that they have been looking at other organizations. We live in a culture now where it doesn't matter if you're looking at software and or if you're looking at things on Amazon or whatever vendor that you're looking at just to buy products for yourself. You probably are doing some type of research. You're looking at other things, and so we should always go into it thinking that's what they're doing as well. We do that here at Concert. We have to understand that people are going to be looking at other types of dialing platforms that are out there. So you should do the same and be prepared for it to talk about those things, because you want to treat them as if they have been doing this research and that you're going to exactly, John, doing that research and knowing that you might still have a fight. It's like inbounds are not just going to be gimmies as well and you're going to have to still sell them. That's the whole game. It's just might be a shorter sales cycle, but you're going to still have to sell them. So, what
I
is your average speed to lead? Oh, wow.
yeah,
Better,
I just want to
John,
add.
it better be under five.
Yeah, I just want to add really quickly a couple of different things. Just to answer Jonathan, a lot of our clients, a lot of times they are trying to do around from 5 to 15 minutes, right? When an inbound is coming in. I also wanted to say about this live transfer. This is a technology where say you have an SDR BDR team. We have clients that have inbound teams, right? All they're doing is handling inbound. But there's a lot of clients that they don't have that level of inbound, that they have inbound teams. So what I would say to everybody is that, really talk to your teams about what is the right strategy. When we talk about multiple rapid attempts, Wright was just talking about, instead of just, I would always say call first, call back someone first. But this, what I always did is, as soon as I tried to attempt to call someone, a lot of times people didn't answer the phone because, again, back to people are busy, right? They didn't answer the phone. So I would immediately go to LinkedIn immediately, right after the call. I'd go to LinkedIn and try to connect and talk to them there. I'd immediately have an email ready to go out. So in rapid, I would do all three at the same time. And then after that, don't give up. And I only mention that, you guys, don't give up of trying to get back to your inbound lead, because I have had times where I called someone like 10 times. I finally connect. I don't assume that their interest is gone. I keep on trying to connect with them, and I get on the phone, and sometimes I've had prospects apologize to me. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Victoria. I've been so busy. I had this project come up, and I'm so glad that you finally connected with me. So definitely don't give up. And if your SDR BDR team, like our live transfer feature, if you do have a team that's inbound and they're talking to a prospect, instead of booking a meeting with your AE and the prospect, a live transfer feature is great. Conference in the AE, do a
Yeah.
handoff, right? Do a handoff. And so that you keep the prospect on the call, you keep the interest going. And I'll even double down to what Wright was just saying about vendors. If you're in there first, I've had prospects that were planning to work with, talk to other vendors. By the time I talked to them, we met all the requirements and so on. They ended up not going to the other vendors. They didn't even go there because they found someone that would, oh, yeah, you're fitting all of our requirements. So doing a quick response is always best practice. Okay, sorry. Let's see.
Yep, completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you truly are delivering value and if they're inbound as well, which means that they have a challenge or an opportunity where you can help solve that for them, you want to get back to them quickly.
Hmm. This
Yeah.
poll is really interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind
Pulse.
of between the 5 1 hour and same day. I understand the same day because I bet it's coming from a perspective of I think two things. One, the type of role that you are. So, like, sometimes if someone comes in and you're doing something else, I completely understand that. So, like, within the under 5 minutes thing, that's going to be difficult regardless of what you try to do. And also the type of the organization that it is, because maybe you're an account executive doing full sales cycle. Like, hey, I'll get to it when I can. I'm like, I'd have like 5 demos back to back this morning, so I get that for sure.
Yeah, the structure of your organization makes a really big difference. You have to be
Yeah.
able to up for that. If you're a high velocity motion like we are at Seamless, we have an SDR team
Hmm.
specifically hired
Right.
to execute on following up with users that sign up that moment. So not everybody's
Right.
set up like that for sure. Ooh, here's a fun one for us. It's the AI paradox. Everybody and everything is AI these days, isn't it? So where is
Yeah.
AI helping the rep, and where is it killing the rep's pipeline without anyone noticing?
Yeah, I love this question, Jonathan. I'm just going to start with you guys to start to say that everyone has a different look at AI, but AI is just another technology. And I think that here at Concert, we have AI in different parts of our platform, and we're really going to be leaning into AI to help salespeople be more productive, be more, having better insights on the data. We've been talking about data a lot, right? Dial to connect rate. Where's that coming from? Why is it happening that way? Why is my sales team what's happening? And a lot of sales leaders today, they don't have tons of time to data dive. I wish they did. A lot of times they come to our team to go, can you help us data dive and help us? So AI, it solves a lot of problems. But and again, you guys, I've been in the tech world for decades. I love technology. I love it. But in the sales world, you really want to lean in to your sales reps. They are your number one resource at a company to build pipeline. So take advantage of the technology, understand, what the technology can do for your team. But where is it killing the pipeline? Well, if you are, deciding like, hey, I'm going to invest in tech, and I think tech is going to, by magic, build my pipeline. Well, tech is a tool. Technology is
Hmm.
a tool. AI is a tool. Where, like in the outbound and in the sales world, you still want to invest in your sales team, right? So when I first started cold calling back in the 90, whatever year, when I started doing that, I had an Excel spreadsheet and a office phone. That is it. I only wish I, had some of this technology, but one of the things I really focus on myself, and I worked with some amazing salespeople, and some of them were great closers. Some of them were really good at business development. To do both is something you really have to invest in yourself as a salesperson to go, I need to be good at both. I need to be a good closer and I need to be good at business development. So a lot of sales teams where technology can mask, and not build pipeline is you're thinking, hey, the technology is solving all these problems. So, when salespeople are getting on cold calls, well, why are 90% of the cold calls less than 15 seconds? Right? So you have to invest in your salesperson to go, when they get connected, are they are they focused on that call? Are they, sounding scripty? Wright and I talk about this a lot because he knows I listen to a ton of call recordings where, are you sounding robotic? Do you feel like you just have to say your script and that will be good enough? And it's no. In fact, all these articles I read where it says, is cold calling dead, for example? I'm like, it's not dead. It's just that prospects want to have a good cold call. They want a good cold call. And
Hmm.
so this is where, how do you build confidence with your sales teams? That is something that the salesperson needs help with, and you do need to be confident. I have trained salespeople that have been really techy. They really know their stuff, But gosh, get them in front of a prospect. They look like they're about to freak out. So you need to build confidence, right? You need to build that they really know their content. I always tell people, I always really wanted to know my content. How am I going to handle that objection? How am I going to ask for that meeting? A lot of people, the number one objection, you guys, is, I just not a good time right now. Not a good time right now. Can you call me back in 6 months? Now you could say, you could be really friendly and go, not a problem, Bob. I will call you back in 6 months. Or you can say, you know what? Gosh, half the people I talk to, gosh, everyone's really busy right now. And maybe what we can do is, how about next month? Maybe I can just capture some time because I want to make sure you're interested in what we have, right? Would that work for you? So, being able to being creative, understand that you're not hurting anyone's feelings by kind of, trying to navigate that conversation. So I know that's kind of long-winded of where is AI working, where it's not. With every technology, whether it's a technology for salespeople or it's a technology for developers or marketing people or whoever, technology is great, but you still have certain things that you want to make sure that you're making sure that you're getting the kind of results that you want
Yeah.
while you're
The
adopting tech.
we talked about this quite a bit off mic, where the over reliance on AI tools like this to help out with the more subjective side about what we all do here, whereas AI is really focusing, and I think that it is strong, is on the objective side of the of data, detecting non-connects and everything that was else on this page right here. But it's not helping fundamentally with like active listening skills, like what Nick just said. It was like tonality. It can maybe suggest things here and there, but like you really have to practice at this and have hopefully a good leadership that is coaching you on these things, that's going to empower you to obviously to feel more confident about what you're talking about in regards to hopefully product knowledge, industry knowledge, and skill sets. But it can't force you to do those things, and then over relying on that to hopefully, like, again, hedging bets that it's going to solve those types of issues for your reps is like, I think, a fool's errand in the long run, because you really want to invest in your team members as much as possible, and they'll see that and they'll hear and they'll feel that too. And because the stronger that your reps can be in the long run, then you're going to have people that's going to be working for you, but also the organization for years to come, and they recognize that, especially in a day and age right now where people are obviously concerned about, like, oh God, is this gonna like take my jobs? Like, well, right here, let's focus on the more how we could focus on the subjective side rather than just like relying on AI to do that as well, which it just can't very well at all.
Yeah, AI is a great companion, right? It's the Robin to the
It's a great tool.
Batman.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about this then. What do you do about it, right? What are some practical changes that folks can make that'll make an impact on their day to day in their Monday morning? So if you walked into an SDR organization team on Monday morning and could change one thing, what would it be?
Well, I would definitely focus more on quality rather than just quantity as much as possible. One way that I've done that in the past is, I love to hear everyone's pitch as soon as I walk in, or at least if I'm definitely taking over a current team. I know when initially I came over to a concert, I got to do that and work with the team member that was initially here, and it was great to collaborate with them. But like, one of the things I wanted to know is like, how do they sound? What are they talking about? What do they know about everything? Is this going to be pretty enlightening for a SDR leader to understand of, like, again, like even what Nick was saying is that how's their tonality, but how's their opener? How's their pitch? Are they asking open-ended questions? How is their closing? It starts to highlight areas of opportunities very quickly of if a rep needs more coaching or focus on, the industry knowledge, the product knowledge, skill sets as well, and especially with I think active listening is a very important part about that. That's just maybe my theater background, but that's what I would try to do is really understand, like, okay, where are the areas of opportunities for each individual? What attributes do, as a sales leader, do I need to focus on, rather than just, categorizing each rep as like my A players, my B players, my C players, which I think is extremely dismissive. And I've never subscribed to that idea. I took a leadership course a long time ago that was the situational leadership, and it really taught you how to focus on particular, again, attributes or skill sets of an individual. And so you as a leader can then empower them if they're great at closing, but they're terrible at notating information. Okay, well, coach on the notation of information part, but empower them on, like, hey, how can we get you in front of more people to close? And that's what's led to me to focus more on the outcome activity rather than just like pure, just like, hey, just cold call the living hell out of everyone, and just like see what sticks. And I just ultimately have seen that that's always going to be the best bet. And utilizing, technology, it gives you a lot of like the baseline, the objective, again, like we've been saying, the information to lead you to this more subjective path of how you can coach your team members for more like, outcome, conversation quality rather than just quantity.
Ooh, so question for you on this one, hot seat question. You can only take one attribute, attitude or skill. Which one are you taking from your sales rep? One, they're either good at one or the other. That doesn't mean they can't be coached up in one or the other.
Hmm. Uh, I skills you can still teach. It takes a little bit more time, but like, man, attitude is because I don't know. When you say attitude, I'm thinking of a few different things. One of the things that
Positive.
I yeah, but I also think about, you have you're curious. It's like, again, like you're curious about a lot of different aspects of the job itself. No matter if it's sales or really any type of role at an organization. If you're like inherently curious, you're curious about your role, you're curious about the product, the company, and the industry itself. And like that is so incredibly hard to teach or to cultivate. And like if you already have that inherently within you, okay, well, I can teach you how in the world the product works. It'll take time, but like it's so much hard to teach. It's so much harder to teach like more of a positive attitude, leading with your best foot forward. I'd probably take that for sure.
Same here. Same
Yeah.
here. My career has been based on
Right.
curiosity.
Well, yeah, like my first sales job was when I was like, well, first, like, adult sales job was at Dell here in Austin, and I was like 20, 21. I had a great attitude. My job that was previous before that, this is how old I am. I was working at Blockbuster. So like I didn't
Right.
know. I was like, I didn't know what RAM was. And so I was like, but I went in there with the best attitude possible. And they're like, we like the cut of your jib. And so I had to learn everything. Granted, it was like a month-long training, but I it took a minute, but I got there. But I had the attitude that I wanted to be successful. I wanted to do this. And I guess that's what they saw, at least in me.
There you go. I like it. I think I still owe Blockbuster.
Everyone's like, Blockbusters. Like, that's how old we all are. It's like, we know what that is. Like, I used to call Blockbuster. That's a very
We
old-fashioned
had to
state.
leave our house to get the
Yeah.
movie. All right.
All right. Hey, at least our kids don't say, or maybe they do. They say, mine say, oh, you're Unc because you were born in the 19s.
Okay. Well,
Don't
if
even
they,
ask.
I
All
got you.
right. So what do you do about what are the best joint customer teams do that the rest aren't doing?
Yeah, I think this is such a great question, because over my years, I've been in both. And here at Concert, I work with so many different companies that use our technology that you can almost see them, Jonathan. From teams that are tightly aligned that are working together. What that just means, everybody, is that focusing on outbound is the sales team can't do everything on their by themselves, right? They're not there to create like case studies, white papers. Marketing is one, really enriching your collateral, right? That you're using. We can't write code. So if you're working at a technology company, right, we're not writing the tech. There's just the person who's your CEO, who's directing the ship a bit, right? There's just so many aspects of having to work together to get the best results. So tightly aligned teams, when they are working well together, they're all communicating really well with each other. They're all trying to identify, where can we do better? What does the sales team need? What does marketing need? What does product management need? What's the feedback? So, like in the CS team, we work with all the teams, right? Here at Concert, we're talking about the voice of the customer. We're working with the marketing team, and we're all kind of tightly aligned of going, how can we maximize our results that we're getting? So what's the other side of that? The other side of it is, I call it the proactive versus reactive, that teams are reaching out when they have a problem, going, hey, we need some help, versus the team that they're asking for, again, being proactive, going, hey, do you need some help? Do you need more collateral? Do you need that other feature to be more competitive, right? So when you're being reactive, that could be a problem. The other thing is, what's your goals? Every department, whether you're a developer, marketing, sales, whoever, accounting, everyone has goals that we are trying to achieve, right? And so if we have certain goals, then it's like, how do we get there? So if you're asking yourself, for example, when I might talk to a new client and say, hey, what's your goals for the team? What are you trying to get out of Concert? What's the goal, right? A lot of people go, it's a really good question. I don't know. I definitely want my sales team to have more conversations. So I always come back to them and say, hey, even if you don't know exactly what the team can produce yet, right, from their cold calling, we should look at, what would you like to see for building pipeline, right? Is it that 3 meetings every week? But then there's also some people who go, well, I want them to book 20 meetings a week. You're like, well, chain them to the desk and chain them to the phone, and they might get there. So, that's kind of where the best teams are. They're all talking to each other. They're working with each other to say, what can we do, and what time can we do it? Because just when you want like that extra tech, or you want marketing to provide, they still need time to produce, right? They just need to put it into their queue, into their roadmap of like, what can we do? And then dive into it, going, okay, do I truly understand what you want? Because there's nothing worse than somebody creating something and you deliver it and everyone's like, yeah, that's not exactly what I was looking for. So you do have to communicate, right? So communication, taking the time to work with each other. But every team should be vocal, right? They should be vocal, right? We have a certain goal. Salespeople, we have a quota we're trying to hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do I
Yeah.
need help with? So I don't feel like I'm siloed, like I'm all on my own doing it. I've been in times where I felt, they threw me on an island, sink or swim, right? Either you get your quota or you don't. But then I've worked with teams that marketing saying, hey, can we have a meeting with you? What exactly you're focused on, this industry, that industry? What can we do? What do you need, right? So that's where you want to finally get to it, into that tightly aligned. Communicate and figure out how can each other help each other achieve our goals.
It's
And,
fun.
and to add to that, I worked for a previous organization a couple of companies ago that implemented a sales methodology throughout the entire organization. And this is more just like a practical way to do this, to kind of echo what Victoria's talking about here. It really helped out quite a bit because everyone was speaking the same language. Everyone from sales, like pre-sales, to marketing, to CS and implementation. And so, like, since that everyone was speaking the same language, it really helped us to understand where a client was within the cycle of working with the organization, and then understanding priorities and how to execute on specific tasks. It's yes, communication is key, and I think having the same um, you know language, let's say, is going to be more like practical best bet in order to get some of these things done and to be on the same goal as well. So yeah, just to point that out, it was really interesting. I never thought I would be able to like actually communicate with implementation before effectively. And I was like, I can do how is this possible? So it is possible.
You mentioned something really good, and then we're going to move on to the next one. But the same goals are aligned goals are important, right? Everybody has their
Yeah.
goals, but are your goals complementary to each other?
Hmm.
Seamless. There's no team that wins without the other, right? One
Right.
team loses, we all lose, right? Marketing, we're looking at revenue, we're looking at supporting net revenue retention, we're looking at supporting all these metrics that aren't necessarily normal for some marketing organizations, but critical if you want to win as a team.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh, tools replacing AI. Oh my, AI is coming, Claude's coming. Chat GPT's coming. What they're already here, right? You hear a lot
Yeah.
about AI SDRs. What are the SDR leaders going to do? What do you think they're going to get wrong 12 months from now? A lot
Yeah,
of hype out
I
there.
just yeah, I just want to start with when just everyone listening when this was the question. I think Wright and I looked at each other, and went, "Oh gosh, what are they going to get wrong in 12 months?" It's
It's a fun one.
it's a fun question, and it's really interesting, and it's so timely right now. I do think AI is on everyone's mind right now, but again, technology. I'm gonna go back to it, you guys. Technology over the years, before even AI, I used to work with technology or sell technology. It was called machine learning, which is a little bit different than AI, but it's in the same umbrella, right? But it was the same thing where people are like, oh, wow, we can do more with, less people and so on. And so I'll just start off and then Wright, definitely I'll hand off to you. But I would say here that where Wright and I kind of landed is this challenge that everyone's going to have year after year is there is some really cool technology out there and where SDR leaders could possibly be kind of wrong. I just think that it just really depends on, are you B2B? Are you B2C? What's the place? But that all of a sudden, we won't need our SDR team. I think that's off to everything. The theme of this whole conversation, right, is I think that there's going to be more tech for sure, but I think where they could be wrong is, that might not be needed anymore. So with that
Right.
said, right, I'll hand it over to you so you can
There's a lot of things with this that I am thinking about that maybe I'm too much of an optimist and I don't see Terminator 2 coming around the corner or anything. But the I I don't think that ultimately it's going to completely replace especially like SDRs in the long run, like with AI tools. I've had plenty of conversations that are that sales leaders and organizations are looking at certain AI agent assisted sort of kind of technology that's out there. But ultimately, in the end, and I understand why this is all a plausible concern because this type of tech is improving day to day. But especially in the B2B world, prospects or people could still obviously tell the difference and they want to have more of a nuanced conversation. I think ultimately in the end, someone who feels seen that they have an issue or some kind of problem that another person can help identify and then also resolve in the long run, that's going to go so much further than any kind of AI tool that is going to just, even start the conversation with. Uh, I I don't think that it's because you want to have the best, best first impression when you're reaching out to a new prospect. And I don't think that the best way to do that is ultimately going to be this. I could say probably more of like um, more transactional sales, even if it's B2B, that these types of tools will be more utilized. But in your relationship sales, in especially in the B2B space, I think that's just it's going to hurt in the long run more than help by utilizing these types of tools, and that's going to start replacing headcount and people because you want think about what an SDR is, and it's a person that's obviously going to find and to generate net new revenue and opportunities. And these are the best types of people to start building out your sales teams in the long run as well. So are you're ultimately going to be sacrificing, you know, homegrown in your organization AEs. So why in the hell would you want to replace any SDR to begin with? These are people that know a good amount of information about how the industry works, the ICP, and like the beginnings of the sales cycle. They already have like all the best practices, and you want to get rid of that altogether. That's why I don't think ultimately this is going to happen. Plus, like in the long run, you'll have no one else to sell to. So why would you want to replace anyone with this stuff?
Yeah. I
Um,
I just want to add really quickly too is again, I love AI, you guys. I'm gonna keep on saying that. But I to everything Wright just said is keep a little bit simple. I think humans still like talking to humans.
mhm,
That might be too simple, but I also think in the B2B space, you are dealing with more complex sales. SDRs, after listening to 1,000 call recordings, it is not a simple like, hey, nice connecting with you. Here's a quick pitch, and do you want to have a meeting? They're doing more than that. They're doing more than that in the calls, and I will even say that SDRs that are that are doing these amazing jobs. When you hear those conversations, they take advantage of every little thing on the call. Wright mentioned earlier about really great listening skills. They're taking advantage of all those little nuanced little topics. When I was looking in here about Blockbuster or the sports events, I had cold calling where people were, going, "Oh, I'm about to go see the Red Sox game, so it's not really a good time." I would gleam on that and go, "Red Sox, oh my gosh, what a history." And they'll take
mhm.
advantage of these things that are on the call. So just to end it with this, that if you lean in and you really have great SDRs, great salespeople, this is where SDRs just shine and really help build pipeline. So there you go. There you go.
Steve Jobs has a clip that I'm sure a lot of folks here have seen, going through Reels and TikTok or whatnot. It's one of his earlier quotes where he's on stage and he's defending Java over this guy in the crowd who's talking about Open Doc and what he's been up to since he's been gone. Anyway, he says, you've got to start with the customer experience, then work backwards into the product versus working into the product,
Mhm.
try to force it into the customer experience. And I think we're finding examples on both sides that are very good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Claude is my permanent assistant now. It just is. It is replaced
Yeah.
monotonous work, research, but I don't let it run on itself, right? I'm not having Claude moderate this webinar, although
Mhm.
maybe it can do a good job. Um, it's a sidekick, right? And there are certain tasks and certain strategies that can be leveraged autonomously with AR with a little bit of supervision. I would caution everybody, please supervise.
Mm-hmm.
But what are people actually asking for? For that, that's providing a ton of value to me. Cool. I don't have to do the stuff that used to take hours and formulas in Excel. Like, for me personally, thank you, Claude, right? But you also see examples on the other side. If you've gone through a drive-through in the last few months, for example, right? How many of you have gotten the AI order taker in the drive-through, and how
Mhm.
fast do you try to get a person on that, right? How quickly do you hit zero when you're on the phone? That's an IVR. That's a little bit old school, but like I want to get to a person as quickly as possible when there's an experience that benefits me. And I think
Yeah.
most people are going to feel that way. So depending on what your expectations are for the experience, you're gonna either over or under index on the product side.
Mhm.
100%.
All right, let's get into this has been a good one. Thank you both for being here. Let's get to some questions. We have some good ones I've been holding out until the end for. This one is concert related. Does Concert have a function to confirm if a mobile number is actually a mobile number and not a landline and vice versa? Very specific question, but a good one.
Yeah. So we don't have a specific feature going, oh, this phone number, it's a mobile phone field, it's a main line. But what we do with AI is when we are calling those numbers, we are knowing like, hey, you're going right to voicemail. Most likely that's a mobile phone number. Oh, hey, you're hitting a phone tree. That's most likely the main line if you're not connecting. And then we expand on those AI dispositions where it's not just are you hitting a voicemail, but is the person saying their first name? Or is it phone tree, but we can't get through? It doesn't have a name directory, right? So we have extensive AI dispositions that really will usually help you identify whether it's a mobile phone or at least a direct phone, right? Like you're getting directly to them or you're hitting a company line.
Right.
Yeah. All right. All right. Tyler, have you found a difference in connection success rate between solely calling a given lead's cell phone or desk phone, alternating between a lead's office and cell phone, or any impact from leaving unique versus pre-recorded voicemail on either?
Mm-hmm. So the first answer is there is definitely a better connect rate calling mobile. We
Hmm.
do have a lot of users that also try to call an office direct phone number, and the connect rate isn't as good. I think part of that, you guys, is a lot of people are working remotely. And if
Yeah.
they're calling the direct number, it's probably being rerouted to someone's mobile phone number, but sometimes it's not. So we are not seeing as good a connect rate with the direct. And then when it comes to calling the business line, yeah, you're not going to get as good direct. It's not, it's so when you do get to a gatekeeper, but a lot of companies don't have gatekeepers anymore. It used to be, right? You used to call office and someone would like immediately answer the phone. There are companies now that you can leave a voicemail or you can navigate their phone tree. And then there's phone trees that don't have name directories. And if they do have name directories, they don't always have the person you're trying to like. How many name directories have you found that you could get to the CEO? Right? And a lot of
Right.
people are
Right.
prospect, they're not. So when you are calling the main line, if that's the only number you have, for sure do that. I will also add that getting past the gatekeeper, a lot of gatekeepers, the reason they're called gatekeeper, they were the ones usually blocking you,
Mm.
right? You're trying to get to the CEO, like nope. But a lot of times when you're calling a gatekeeper, you are getting transferred to that person's office phone. You're usually getting a lot of voicemails when you do that. There is a certain percentage that someone is telling you like, hey, you're gonna have to email that person. I'm not going to transfer you, but it's pretty low percentage of a gatekeeper blocking you. But
Mm.
overall, what you want to evaluate with your prospect list, I'll say again, there's some of our clients that have gone mobile only. They won't even call any other number than mobile, but we do have clients who are calling those different phone fields. What I would say, like in concert world, is pick the right dialer depending on which phone field you are calling. When you're calling mobile or direct, like parallel dialing is great. If you are
Yeah.
calling the main line, realize that you are going to be talking to gatekeepers. And I think part of my history was because I didn't have mobile phones for years, you guys. I got really good at getting past the gatekeeper, but just realized back to the question is the connect rate is going to go a little bit lower, but it's still worthwhile if you don't have that person's mobile number.
And then for the voicemail part, I would say, I guess it depends on where you are in like the kind of the sales cycle of the prospect that you're calling. At least if you're seeing a like a high consistency of voicemail, at least for utilizing a platform like ours, but if you're seeing a consistency of like a lot of voicemails that you're hitting, then I would say a pre-recorded voicemail is always going to be fine for sure, especially if you have some kind of dedicated messaging. But if you're doing a little bit more of a methodical approach, if you're a few steps into a sales cycle with a prospect, then leaving a personalized voicemail, then I don't think is going to hurt at all. Again, voicemails, do you see a high like callback rate in general? Not really. But if it increases the percentage or callback rate by 1%, then it's one more percent than you'd have from before.
Yeah, and I'll just add you guys to that is remember when you're leaving voicemails, you're building your brand as a sales rep. Hey, this is Victoria, right? Victoria, you're building the company brand. It's worth it. Hey, have you heard of Concert, right? And also to what Wright just said, part of our technology is the amount of people calling back, right? Now the
Yeah.
question is it because of the voicemail? Is it because I just tried calling someone? There are some people that don't want Jonathan. He has a screener on, man. Right. He's one of those people not picking up the phone, but a lot of people do call back, and sometimes they just call back because they look at their phone going, I don't know who just called me. I'm gonna call that number back. You know what we find is that the salespeople that are getting that call back, they're having conversations, they're booking meetings with people. So the voicemail, I'm gonna say to what Wright just said, leave at least one personalized voicemail relevant.
Yeah.
And by the way, I might add, don't make it a super long voicemail. It's almost like what Jonathan said about the screener. Don't spend 5 minutes leaving a voicemail. Try to keep the voicemail, no more than 30 seconds or so. People do listen to voicemails, but they'll probably cut you off if it's too long.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. To me, that's the first sign of life that this is a real person and the call has value. A voicemail is left. Otherwise, you're not going to get me with your area code tricks. Right.
You'd be surprised.
I know. No, listen, it gets me every time, every week. I'd say at least once a week, they get through, and you know what? They're usually really good salespeople.
There you
Yeah.
go.
All right, this is a wrap. Victoria, Wright, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, thanks for hanging on late here. Great questions. We're going to be sharing the recording. We'll be sharing the deck. We'll get a few edits done. But, right, Victoria, where can people find you? Where can they follow up if they want to get in touch with you?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Definitely follow up with me on LinkedIn for sure. I'd love to talk to you if you have any other questions. You just don't want to, for me to sell you or, get you over to one of my sales guys. I know they're all here, so they're probably like, who can we talk to? But if you want to talk strategy, I love having those types of conversations. I think it's, anything that I've learned from my past, from any of the organizations, and then anything I can learn from anyone else, I think it's healthy. And I think it's very interesting. So reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always up for a combo.
There we
Yeah.
go.
I'll just add same thing on LinkedIn, but if anyone wants to contact me directly, I'm just like with Ray, even if it's some questions, more than happy to answer. You can email me at vgagnon@concert.com. And since we're in the phone world, I'm gonna give you my number, 603-339-9707. Happy to chat with you guys. And thank you for everyone who stayed in on the call. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Let the games begin. She gave out her
All
number. Thank you, everybody.
right.
Have a great afternoon. We'll be following up soon.
Thank you, everybody. The other right already left.